Hi there, Lukas here. I wanted to make another video today about something that I was thinking about or going through currently. And it's the feeling that my ego is dissolving somehow, or it's fracturing in some way. I was talking to a friend about this, but it was difficult to even find the fitting words to describe it, because it's something new for me as well, and I don't really know what to make of it yet. Like a few years back, I already had the thoughts or the ideas about how our image of ourselves, like our ego, is basically a fluid construct. Like ego for me is what the parts of yourself or the characteristics of yourself that you identify yourself with. Like you look at yourself and you see, okay, I'm good at sports, and then you say, okay, I'm a sportsman. Or you're good at basketball, so you say, I'm a basketball player. But at the same time, different things are existing in you, and you could take different parts of you and identify with them. So this is what, from my point of view, ego basically is. It's your image of who you are, what you're gripping onto from yourself. So a few years back I developed this metaphor of like a tree across time. You have a trunk, you have branches, you have leaves, and those are like different parts of your real personality, like of who you really are. You have some biological markers that can't be changed quickly, like maybe your age, when you were born and stuff like this, that's the trunk. Maybe some personality traits that are really deeply rooted. Then you have your branches. It's what you develop during your lifetime, and you have different branches. You can identify with different parts of yourself. And then of course you have leaves. That's like temporary stuff that just comes and goes, that you don't really identify with usually, or the seasons of life. And this is moving through time, and it changes over time. You grow, and sometimes maybe a storm comes along and breaks one of the branches off, or shakes a lot of the temporary stuff off of you, so you can see clearly again who you are. But like recently I've been feeling a little bit different about this, or not entirely different, but I've been getting some distance from this metaphor. There were a couple of, I would say, archetypes that I identified with, and I consciously could see them in my life playing out. I could switch between them in different settings. And of course, you have archetypes, like those are the stories that you follow, or the behavioral patterns that you follow. But then again, there are the roles that you play in certain settings. Like at work, you play a certain role. Maybe you're the boss, or you're the employee, you're the engineer, the housekeeper, who knows who you are there, but like that's a role that you play, and there's a set of behaviors that are attached to this role. But in a different setting at home, you play another role, and you might use another archetype to play this role. So it's aligned in some way. Like you won't use the, let's say, the innocent archetype as often at work, probably. At work you're more like maybe the adventurer or something like this. But at home you might use those archetypes, like the innocent or the lover or something else, or the jester, to reach some, to live your role in this family or in your setting. So those were conscious thoughts of me, but I didn't really feel like I was switching between those things. I still had some sense of my own identity, but recently it's starting to fade a little bit, I would say, because if I play a role, if I go somewhere, I'm fully immersed in this role. I'm embedded in it, and I can see from inside of this role, so to speak. So I am the worker at work, I am the family person at home somewhere. But as soon as I'm out of this context, I immediately like fly out of this role basically and go back to some sort of neutral state. And it's been very strange because I can go into a context and experience a lot of positive things. Like I'm genuinely having fun and enjoying the presence of other people. And then I leave this context and there's almost no residue of what prior happened. Or I'm going to another context and maybe I talk to someone at work, maybe a rude client or something like this. Maybe he even yells at me, like imaginary situation, but let's imagine. And of course I feel upset with this in this situation, but then I go out of the situation. I almost immediately can like detach from this role. And I was trying to figure out what's happening and what's going on, because I've heard of this concept like ego death and dissolving the ego and stuff like this, but it's always was very like sketchy even for me, to be honest. Like I didn't really think this was a thing. So I researched it a little bit. I watched a documentary or two. Didn't really find anything interesting, but then I stumbled across a book that sounded like something solid, let's say. I have this book here. It's called Changing on the Job, by Jennifer Garvey Berger. That's the book. And like you see, I'm reading it right now. I'm around page 100. Today I've read until page 113. So she explains a little bit about this process that I'm going through, I think. Like I'm not saying I have it all figured out, but I'm trying to make sense of my experience, like probably most of us. And I start to understand that it's never going to end. Like you're never going to find an explanation that completely explains everything you're going through, or that is right in every circumstance or context. And that's always also a part of this shift that's happening, I think. So in this book, Changing on the Job, Jennifer Garvey Berger explores the so-called adult development theory. And adult development theory is a theory that was first researched by her father, I think. And it's about different stages of complexity fitness, so to speak. So how many perspectives can a person take in any given situation? They don't make any value or quality judgment necessarily, but they just explain that people on different complexity fitness levels, there are 4 that they describe, just experience the world or see the world in different ways. And sometimes they don't understand each other as well, and they have trouble communicating if they don't see the viewpoint of the other person, so to speak. So this was something that I was really interested in. So I started to read it. Maybe I'll go into more details in some other video where I can explain it maybe in a little bit more clarity. But a brief overview of what I already learned from the book. There are 4 types or 4 levels of complexity fitness. The first one is the self-sovereign mind. So it's the mind where your own needs and wants are really important and you only see them. Like it's not that you can't act in a way that takes others into account, but you only do it because it benefits you. And if it's not beneficial to you somehow, then you don't really do it. That's how they explain it in brief, I think. The next level of complexity fitness is where most adults today are, or where most adults developed already. It's the socialized mind. So that's where you take in all the perspectives of people and you can take the viewpoint of someone else, but the viewpoint of others basically dictates your own behavior. So you can't pick and choose between different viewpoints or different explanations, but you're controlled by the context, by the social context in which you reside. This is a brief explanation. Maybe I got it wrong. If someone knows something more about this, then feel free to correct me at any of those points. So the third level of complexity fitness, according to her, would be the self-authored mind. So you author your life, basically, or you author yourself. So this is a level where you take in the perspectives of others. You also see your own perspective, and then you start to learn from it and build your own character, or build your own values and behavioral patterns. So it's basically where you author your own personality and you decide consciously on certain values. You can compare viewpoints of others. So you are not a subject to your environment anymore, but you're treating those opinions of others as objects that you can compare, pick and choose from, and make some of them your own. The problem or the limitation of this self-authoring mind would be that you see those values that you decided on as a law for you. Like, you're fully controlled by those values that you have. You see them as absolute, as the only thing that matters and the only thing that's right. And of course this can cause problems if it's conflicting with some values that other people show or inherently have. And of course, if you have a set of values that guide you through life, then you feel a little bit discouraged maybe by people that are just following social trends, or by people that are just trying to do what's right for them, or just seeing their own viewpoint, basically. So it's obvious, I think, that there's a lot of conflict potential between different levels of complexity fitness. And the fourth level of complexity fitness would be the self-transforming mind, how she describes it. And the self-transforming mind goes a step back and doesn't judge different values as negative or positive. Like, you have some values, of course, but you use them as a tool, more or less, not as an absolute guide. And you also see the perspectives of others and don't devalue them necessarily. So you can take different perspectives and be in them simultaneously. You can deal with paradox and complexity better, so you can accept that there are differing viewpoints that both are correct in their own sense, so to speak. So even if you're personally not agreeing with something someone else says. And I think this is the important step or part. Of course, even this fourth form of mind has some limitations, but the author admits that we don't know what this limitation is yet. But I think that this fourth complexity of mind is basically the same thing as an ego dissolving. You stop to live your life from this ego thing. You start to accept everything that's coming your way as an opportunity to experience life, to experience the world, to see what happens. You don't attach too much value to goals as well. Like, this is something else also that I noticed. Like, I had some goals previously. Like, I always was very goal driven, even though it didn't feel like this to me, but everyone said it about me. And I had some vision of where I want to be or what I want to reach, and I went to it, and this felt meaningful. And now that I'm a little bit in the chaos, like I told you in another video about it, a lot of things are changing, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen, what's going to pay off and what not. I don't feel like there's so much worth, let's say, or it's so meaningful to chase certain goals. Like, I still have goals. I want to become a project manager, for instance, at work, and I want to learn more about leadership and human development and stuff like this, to be able to help others, to coach others. to help my friends, to help myself grow further. But yeah, it's not like it's the whole picture. Like, it's not the only thing in life. It's becoming more about experiencing what's happening during it happens, then it becomes as going somewhere specific. I don't think that the specific goals that I set are any better or worthier than any other goals someone else might set. So it's humbling to some extent, I would even say, because you start to realize that on one hand everything is meaningless, but on the other hand there's meaning in everything inherently existent. Like, you then don't have to chase meaning necessarily. It still feels good to accomplish something, I think, and to go somewhere. But like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I always switch back to this neutral observer mindset eventually, after a day of work or after I've met with friends or family, and I can see it more neutral. I don't know much about Stoicism. Maybe someone of you can tell me if this is something that Stoics also explained or experienced or aim at, maybe. And yeah, I'm interested to hear where you found yourself in this video. Maybe you have a similar experience or a similar realization, like the realization that our identity is basically just what we identify with in ourselves was a really big one for me a few years ago. And I don't know what to make of the current experience yet. I don't think I'm there yet. I think I'm probably in a self-authored state most of the time, but like trying to grow. So yeah, maybe something that you can share can help me figure this out, and we can talk about it in the next videos. I hope you looked at them as well, and I see you there, and I wish you a nice day. Bye.